When the mornings turn cold and the woods start to whisper winter, something stirs deep inside a man. The truck is packed and the rifles are cleaned. There's a quiet excitement that builds with every mile towards camp. Deer camp isn't just a getaway, it's a reset. The laughter around the wood stove, the smell of the coffee before dawn, and the stories that grow taller each year. It's when men trade the noise of the world for the stillness of the woods, where time slows down, and where the bond of friendship feels as old and steady as the Maine pines themselves. Camp, 11/23/1987.
Dale and Derek arrive at camp. Hunt the bridge area. Very little sign seen. Talk to Brady Scott. He had mentioned they were seeing deer along the Allagash.
He was right. 11/25/1987. Mark arrives at camp at 9 a.m. Hunted on Horse Barn Road. Saw deer, none shot that day. 11/26/87.
Kevin and Dean arrive at 1 a.m. We hunt Allagash area until the 28th of November.
On which date we all left for home at 10 a.m. No deer shot this year.
Oh, the other one's a bull. The little one? Does it have a spike?
It does.
Right there. Probably shoot two with one shot. Oh yeah, right there on the shoulder. Get the butter.
November 21st, 1988. Joe and Derek arrived mid-afternoon, with 7 inches of snow on the ground and still snowing. On the 27th, Dale, Dean, Kevin, and Mark arrive. Hunted Horse Barn Road, Mushroom Road, and of course Dale's Road.
On the night of November 25th, at about 7 p.m., we were hit by an earthquake that shook the whole camp, rattled chairs and dishes, no damage sustained. 7 partridge killed during the week, went 4 for 6 on deer. Mark kills an 8-point 205-pound buck on Thursday morning while hunting with Dale. Dean kills an 8-pointer 195 pounds further in on the Mushroom Road. Kevin kills a 75-pound button buck. Derek kills a 95-pound doe. Week total, 3 bucks and 1 doe. Several other deer seen. We all left early Saturday afternoon. Seen some deer sign?
Yeah, lots of deer tracks in here, Paul. In the old haunt. Lots of moose sign.
Did you hear something?
I thought it was down there. When I stepped up there to look at that cedar, I thought I heard something down there.
Those cups out on that, Derek, so you can adjust it to your eyes. There's cups, eye cups in.
It's a cow.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, but I didn't see any big paddles anyway.
Why couldn't I have seen one like that
I know.
a couple, 3 weeks ago?
Exactly, Derek.
That'd be a tough shot because you'd have to.
Texas heart shot.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I would put it right on the bridge of her nose, just to the.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, right there, Derek. Yeah.
November 19th, 1989. Derek, Dale, Joe, Mark, and Dean all arrive at 12 noon.
Mark gets an 8-pointer, 202 pounds, on Tuesday afternoon. Dean, Derek, and Joe drag it out after dark that night. Kevin's still living on Vinyl Haven Island. 50 to 70 mile an hour winds on coast prohibits the boat from leaving the island. As a result, Kevin arrives at camp on November 22nd at 6 p.m. He shoots a 5-point, 150-pound buck on November 23rd, 1989 at 8 a.m. Counting Joe's opening day doe, we go 3 for 6 this year, 2 bucks and 1 doe. We all leave on November 25th at 2 p.m. with light snow falling.
I took a shot at the other one, but my wing shoot is not the best. You should be all done. Well, there. Sweet. I'm out of shells.
November 18th, 1990.
Derek, Dale, Dean, Joe, and Mark Yu arrive at camp at about 2 p.m.
3 inches of noisy, crusty snow on the ground. Many blowdowns across Camp Road. Sausage, green peppers, and onions for supper. Poker until 9. November 19th. Eggs and sausage for breakfast. It's 9:09 as I, Derek, write this. Everyone else is out deer hunting. I killed an 8-point, 160-pound buck on October 31st, 1990. I've been appointed camp cook for this year. At 9:30, Mark walks through the door with blood in his hands. At 7:50 a.m. on Monday morning, he shoots a 10-point, 240-pound buck. The deer was in a skid trail off the side of the shortcut road. Mark walked up onto him while he was rubbing his antlers. About an hour's drag to the shortcut road.
Derek kills a crap house bird that afternoon. Only partridge killed that day.
Oyster stew for supper. Joe lost his shirt playing cards. Lights out at 8:15. November 20th. We got an inch of light snow last night. Joe walks to the horse barn road. Dale tracks a buck. At 10 a.m., Jackrabbit shoots a 145-pound doe. There was a buck with her, but Joe didn't see it until after the shot. It was about 150 yards off the horse barn road.
Dean hunted off the dam road.
He chased an 8-point onto a Quebec hunter. A discouraged Dean, about 3 hours later, downs a 7-point, 182-pound buck. Dean's knife was in Derek's pocket. Derek was a long way off. Dean walked 5 miles back to camp to get dragon help. November 22nd, Thanksgiving Day, turkey sandwiches. Dale finally got his hands bloody. At 11:46 a.m., Dale shoots a 6-point, 128-pound buck. November 24th, group photos before dawn. Dale, Dean, and Mark all head out today. Kevin wants to hunt the horse barn road. We drive the whole length to find the freshest set of tracks to follow. At almost 8 o'clock, we jump a deer, a buck and a doe. Buck runs through the cut and Kevin shoots. On the 4th shot, hits the deer and knocks it down. The buck trying to get back up. Finally does, and Kevin fires another shot. It misses. The buck walks into a swamp a short ways and beds down in a small clearing. As we approach, we jump a moose, which draws the buck's attention. Kevin shoots him in the neck as he looks away from us. It's 11:36 a.m. The buck is an 8-point, 170 pounds. Back at the camp yard at 4:06 p.m. Leftover beans and hot dogs for supper.
What did you just do? Oh yeah.
November 24th, 1991. Derek, Joe, Dale, Mark, and Dean arrive at camp at 4 p.m.
Very warm with practically no snow on the ground. No deer seen on the way in.
Deer sign over by the brook, but very minimal.
Mark found deer sign in by the shortcut road. November 29th. At 9, Dale shoots a 4-point, 111-pound buck. He took up stand at 8:08 on the shortcut road in his gray chair from camp. Joe made partridge stew with dumplings that night for supper. Very good.
Well, how's that for a reunion trip?
Awesome.
Does that make it worse?
Awesome.
November 22nd, 1992. Derek, Joe, Mark, Dean, and Dale arrive at camp at about 3 p.m.
Dean prepared supper of spaghetti and meatballs. Cars till 8 p.m., then to bed. No snow to speak of.
Mark hunted over by the lake. More snow there than back at camp. Dean and Derek go to the mountain at the mouth of Mark's Road.
After the morning success with the call, we decided to continue using it. Called several times going up the mountain with no response. About 150 feet from my last calling spot, a doe jumped into my view. When she took a step and her shoulder was in the clear, I shot. She was knocked sideways and made a few unsteady jumps. We found her in a little depression about 100 feet away. It was a heart shot. Shot at 2:10 p.m. She weighed 118 pounds.
November 24th, 1992. Mark heads over to the lake at 7:05 a.m.
He jumps 2 deer, a doe for sure and a glimpse of another big deer. Walks down to where he sees them, the other deer runs. It's a buck. He shoots 5 shots and hits it. The deer had bedded down at about 100 feet from where he shot the first time. He sees the deer in bed this time and shoots it laying down. He gets up very wobbly. Mark shoots 3 more times. Deer hit a total of 4 times, 10-point, 185-pound buck. November 25th. Joe, after sitting for a while, goes up the shortcut road and cuts a fresh track headed west. No snow in the track, and it's snowing quite hard. He heads after it, and about 15 minutes later it blows at him, several times. Steps to catch his breath. While standing there, he looks up, and there stands a deer. He uses a tree for a rest and shoots. He looks up the hill, and the deer is still walking away. While jacking in another shell, the deer stops, turns broadside, and looks down the hill at Joe. Joe picks up the gun, and the scope is fogged up. Joe can't see the deer. He cleans the scope a couple of times and finally shoots at the deer. Misses. A dejected Joe walks up the hill to follow the track. And there lies a button buck, 77 pounds. November 21st, 1993. Breakfast at Lenny's that morning. Groceries at Smythe's. Arrived at camp around 1:30. November 22nd. No snow around. No deer sighted this day. November 23rd. Mark shoots a 10-pointer on the hill southwest of Dales Road. It weighed 168 pounds. Dean cooked chicken casserole that night for supper. Cards for a while. Pot got up to $10.40. Kevin got burned. Lights out at 8:44. On this trip, the propane tank ran out of fuel on Saturday. We also had a jelly bean tasting contest. Jody won. Kevin came in second. November 20th, 1994. For supper, Kevin's lobster stew. Cards for a while, lights out at 9ish. November 21st, Monday.
That morning, the group heads over to the lake during shooting light.
On the ride over, Jody shoots a 10-pointer, 185-pound buck. At about 2:40, Dean shoots a 168-pound buck. It's at the north end of what is now known as Dean's Road. Dean blew a deer bleed about 30 seconds before the deer appeared on the trail in front of him. One shot in the neck. This is Dean's first deer with his Browning lever action 30-06. Tuesday, November 22nd, cereal for breakfast and bran muffins. Mark meets up with the deer as he's headed on the ridge north of the Winter Road. He gave up and walked back down to the Winter Road. As he walked over the slash pile, there was a deer walking on the opposite slash pile. Mark shoots at the walking deer and gut shoots it. He goes across the road looking for tracks, and the deer is standing there looking at him. He shoots again and the deer drops. It's a 4-point buck.
Go ahead and get it over, and I can get her. I wouldn't trade you for the biggest one out there right now.
Oh, that's pretty cool. We've got a lot of deer hanging here.
Probably 50.
Really? Can you spin it there, Paul, sideways? There you go. There you go, right there.
November 19th, 1995. We all meet at the Northeastern Hotel for breakfast. Smythe's for groceries afterwards. Wardens Jim Fahey and Skip Bates joined us. Monday morning, November 20th. Tracking snow. Everyone takes a track at first light. Some off the Horse Barn Road, some off the Winter Road. No one sights deer today. November 25th, Saturday. Kevin watches Kim stream. At 9:03, shoots a 180-pound 10-point buck, goes about 50 feet before dropping. After Kevin shot it, ran up the west end of the Winter Road. At 9:05, Derek shoots a 125-pound 8-point buck. He was at the south end of the West Spur Road off the Winter Road. You see, before Derek reached the Spur Road, deer sign had become very plentiful. There were many deer tracks in the area. As Derek approached the slash pile on the edge of the Winter Road, he noticed 2 deer running over the slash pile on the other side of the Spur Road. He figured he'd missed his chance. As the deer ran away, he was able to tell that one was a buck. As he climbed over the slash pile and proceeded to the Spur Road to where the deer had been standing, while walking to the spot, he kept looking up into the woods. He'd almost reached the deer's tracks when he spotted a buck standing in the patch of raspberry bushes at the edge of the thicket. The buck stayed there long enough for him to get a shot. The deer was standing straight on, looking straight at him. One shot was all it took. The buck jumped into the air, fell to the ground, and never got back up. The bullet hit the lungs, heart, and liver. There was no exit wound. Kevin, Mark, Jody, Dean, and Derek dragged the deer to the west end of the Winter Road. Both deer were loaded into Kevin's 4x4 Ford by 11:45 a.m. A couple of happy campers.
You got a buck
That was a trip
on Lacey's birthday.
on Lacey's birthday.
Is it her birthday?
It's her
really?
birthday.
Her birthday, yeah.
Yeah, who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought? Yeah.
It's been what?
Oh,
10,
we must have hunted
20.
6 or 7 hours. Hard, huh?
hard hunting,
My eyes are so tired from scanning the brush. Yeah.
crisscrossing all day long.
Dale shot on the crossing up there
When he was sitting in the chair.
when he was sitting in the folding chair, metal chair. May have been the last year.
Man.
I'm not
No,
sure.
no, that was he shot that before I started coming out.
Yeah, he had the red Mazda then.
Yeah.
November 24th, 1996. Groceries total for the week are $220. A quick side note, prior to this week, Kevin had shot an 85-pound doe opening day.
This year, Dale and Mark brought snowmobiles in, and they're going to snowmobile into the lake.
Tuesday, November 26. Joe cooks a big breakfast, bacon, eggs, the whole works. November 30th, Saturday. Dale hunts his crossing by the horse barn and mushroom roads. At about 8:30, a 6-point buck walked out into the road. He shoots and drops a deer. Buck weighed 118 pounds. At about 9 o'clock, Mark shoots an 8-point buck off the mushroom road. Buck was weighed at Buck's Market at 155 pounds. Derek, Dean, and Zachary hunt the Harding Ridge area. Dean shoots a 135-pound doe. On this day, 3 deer were killed. Beans and hot dogs for supper by Paul. November 23rd, Sunday, 1997. Light snow falling that night. Lights out at 8:30. 2 to 3 inches of new snow by morning. Monday, November 24th. 20 degrees Fahrenheit, cloudy. Beautiful calm morning.
Dean, Zach, Kevin, Dale, Mark, and Paul head over to the lake country.
Kevin spends most of the day in the new lemonade stand. At 11 a.m., Mark and Paul will track in a deer, hear a racket coming towards them. They thought it might be a moose because of all the noise. The noise turned out to be not a moose, but a deer. A 12-point, 210-pound buck, to be exact. Paul fired one shot from the Model 94 30-30 and hit the deer in the chest, breaking the front left leg. They track the deer and find it down with its head up. Paul fires again and hits the deer just below the left ear, dead center. The deer has a very impressive rack. Should score better than Mark's 10-pointer from 1990. The deer killed at the south end of the west spur off the Winter Road. Dean, Zachary, Mark, and a happy Paul dragged the deer out. Kevin drove his 4x4 across the brook with all the others on board this morning. Friday, November 28th. Cereal for breakfast. Mark, a couple minutes from noon, kills a 4-point.
I just ran down the lake to get some water. This has been a trip for the ages. We had an opportunity to do a reunion trip to our old deer camp, old stomping grounds, the original deer camp. And not the biggest buck in the world, but it's a special one because of how and where it happened. So we'll get some good pictures of a successful hunt and some tasty meat at the original deer camp.
November 21st, 1998. Sunday. Breakfast at Governor's Restaurant in Prescal. Dave, Kim, Pam, and Michelle join us for supper. Great guests. Lights out by 9:30. November 22nd, Monday. Cereal for breakfast. Dale's hunting the ash pile stand. The stand used to be the lemonade stand, but someone burned it at the end of October, the 1st of November. Now it's simply an ash pile. At 3:43, an 8-point, 214-pound buck attempts to cross the road. Dale fires once and the buck drops on the spot. The deer drops on almost the same exact spot that his deer did 2 years ago. Tuesday, November 23rd, cereal for breakfast. Paul spent the day watching the crossing at the ash pile stand. At about 9:30, a buck attempts to cross the road. He shoots the deer, it turns and runs up the road. He fires 3 more times, striking the deer in the left ear, right eye, and the chest. It was an 8-point buck, 130 pounds. November 21st, 1999, Sunday, overcast, 50 degrees. Cards for a while, lights out at 9. Joe already has a deer. He shot a buck, 155 pounds, in Freedom. Shot opening day. Dale and Zach and Paul take the canoe across the river. Dale and Zach watch the crossing while Paul walks around bird hunting. Paul shoots 3 birds in the first few hours. Paul arrived to camp last night at 11 o'clock. He'd already shot a buck earlier in the year. It was an 8-pointer, 180 pounds. Derek hunts down by the brook, and at 11:35, Derek shoots a 75-pound doe fawn. This week's been a very warm week. Not much more to add. All out by Sunday. On November 4th, Paul shoots an 8-point, 210-pound buck. Him, Mark, Kevin, and Chris Dowdy hunt the opening day together. On November 7th of this year, Kevin shoots a 120-pound doe last couple minutes of the day. November 10th, Dale, Andrew, and Mark hunt Black Bear Road. Well, it didn't take long for Dale to sit on stand, and he shoots a 3-point, 117-pound buck, shot just out of sight of where Kevin shot his doe. That morning, Derek and Gerard had left camp at 7, headed for the Big Black River country. A pickup was parked on the road at the top of the hill south of the Big Black Bridge. They were watching a doe and a fawn in the road. I grabbed my gun and pack and went into the woods after him. Fawn was jumping over some jack firs, but the doe was standing there still. I shot her in the neck, and down she went. Breakfast and cleanup in the morning. A fine time was had by all. November 19th, Sunday, first day of deer camp week. Lobster and scallop stew for supper. Great as always. Cards for a while, then lights out. November 23rd. Kevin, Paul, and Zach went to the Baxter State Park Experimental Forest on this day, when all of a sudden Paul screams, "There's a deer!" At first the deer is standing there looking at him in the middle of the road. As Zach loads his gun, the deer starts to walk away. When Zach gets his rifle loaded and shouldered, he tries whistling but can't get a sound to come out. Finally he just hollers, "Hey!" and the deer stops and looks back. Zach aims at the neck and shoots the deer. It drops right in its place. The guys paced it off, and it was around 200 yards. It's a buck deer that appears to be a yearling, with stub spikes. He weighed 125 pounds on Mark's scales. November 24th, Friday. Mark shoots a 6-point, 117-pound buck. Mark was watching the lower road and took a walk to warm up. In the 15 minutes he was gone, a deer crossed his crossing and headed for the upper road. He quickly walks to the upper road, and on his way he meets up with Jody. They put together a game plan in which Jody's going to walk down to the lower road and track the buck up through the block of woods towards the upper road. As Jody's tracking the deer, he jumps the deer out of its bed. It stands up and gives Jody a quick second and takes off before he can get a shot. A couple minutes later, he hears Mark fire. The deer Mark shoots is the same deer Jody sees. And with that, it was this year, 2001, that the crew didn't get at least one deer. We didn't know it at the time, that when we packed up camp, the old stove went cold for the last time. It wasn't just the end of our deer week. It was the closing of a chapter. The old camp had been more than 4 walls and a roof. It had been a gathering place for friendship, laughter, and tradition. It's hard to imagine that our last deer harvested at the Enthusiast deer camp was Mark's 2000 Upper Road Brook buck. While the rifles may be quiet and the bunks now empty, but the stories, the ones born in these woods, will live on in every hunter who called this place deer camp.